Hi there, and welcome back to my Eat, I Read, I Watch column. This is about solo dining and things I'm watching and reading. And today I'm eating stir-fried shrimp and vegetables on rice. You know, sometimes there are veg in the fridge that need to be eaten. This time, 4 mushrooms, the inner core of a bok choy, and some green beans cry out to be used before they succumb to the green bin. So I take action. While I often enjoy stir fry with noodles, this time I have a craving for rice, or more to the point, I crave fried rice and egg for breakfast tomorrow, meaning tonight I'll take the first step towards that. I put a cup of basmati into a pot with 2 cups of veg broth from an open Tetra Pak in the fridge. Good way to ensure that doesn't go bad either. I get it to a boil and turn it down to cook for 12 minutes, followed by 5 with the lid on to absorb the liquid. Then I chop all those sad veg along with cooking half a cooking onion and pull 5 decent-sized shrimp from the bag in the freezer. It is not a night to get the wok out, a better result, but an ordeal to lug it and then wash it later. So I get some grapeseed oil heating in a stainless steel frying pan with a drop of sesame oil for flavor. When I can tell it was super hot, I toss all the veg into a satisfying sizzle and shake it around for a bit. I add the shrimp a little later, too soon as it turns out because they get a bit rubbery. Never mind, I add a glob of bottled stir-fry sauce whisked with sriracha and a cornstarch slurry, and that covers the worst of the sins. It all lands more or less at the same time. I scoop a decent portion of rice into the bowl and top it with the veg and shrimp with a sprinkle of sesame seeds on top. As my father might have said, perfectly edible. Prep time, about 30 minutes maybe. Origin, well, Argentinian shrimp, Himalayan-grown Canadian packaged rice. Veg, well, it's hard to get Canadian veg in December, but I'm pretty sure none of it was from the U.S. Cost, $5 maybe? What have you done with sad vegetables lately? If you have an idea, put it in the comments on my blog. So what am I reading? Well, some weeks ago, in response to another of my columns, someone recommended I read this book called Thick Skin, Field Notes from a Sister in the Brotherhood. It's a memoir by a British Columbia-based female welder/writer named Hilary Peach. The combo intrigued me. I don't know much about welding, and the only other female welder I'd heard of was the character in 1980s movie Flashdance. Remember that one? So I put the book on hold at the library. I started it during the holidays, and in the first 10 pages said aloud for my plants to hear, "This better improve." But then I realized I was 50 pages in and still reading it. It did get better. Part of the problem is there's lots of description of welding, but I sped through those paragraphs, gleaning the general idea. Welding uses heat to melt metal to join it to other metal. There are different techniques used. On a big project, skilled welders need to come from other cities, and some people are better at welding than others. That's about it. But this book is about so much more than that. The stories Peach tells about job sites throughout Canada and the U.S. opened my eyes to another work culture, one where overt discrimination and harassment against women is still more or less acceptable. In one situation, Peach is warned about some guy being trouble, and on the first occasion when they are alone together, he suggested she could be his girlfriend and save some money on accommodation costs. Her response, "If I was your girlfriend, you'd never get any sleep." He asked why, and she let him know that he wouldn't sleep because he'd be worried she would stab him in his sleep and make a necklace of his teeth. When Dude told the foreman commended her for her response. Yup, this is a world I know nothing about. I enjoyed learning more. If you've been pleased with a recommendation lately, put a note in the comments on my blog. And finally, what am I watching? Well, it's a show on BritBox, surprise, surprise, called A Cruel Love, the Ruth Ellis story. Over the holidays, I had time to dig deep in the BritBox files for something to keep me entertained and interested. One that really captured me in all 4 of its episodes was this one, a docudrama about the last woman to be hanged in Britain 70 years ago. Like Hilary Peach, Ruth Ellis was living in a world I know nothing about. Ellis worked hard to present herself as something other than the Welsh-born working-class single mother of 2, including reinventing her accent and bleaching her hair blonde. By her mid-20s, she was the youngest bar manager in London and attracted a lot of male attention. One of those, wealthy race car driver David Blakely, became her lover and her abuser. Another suitor, Desmond Cusson, encouraged her to kill Blakely, supplying the gun and teaching her to use it. She was convicted and sentenced to die by hanging. Cusson got off scot-free. Aside from marveling at the alacrity of the judicial system at the time, the murder was April 10th of 55, and the date for the execution was July 13th of the same year. This series gave me a flavor of the treatment of women and the class system of a time only a decade before my birth. I recommend it. If you've seen something good lately, put it in the comments on my blog. Thanks for watching.